Hello, friends, and welcome back into NFL Daily Live. I am Tom Downey, back here for most Tuesdays, not all Tuesdays. I don't think next Tuesday is going to happen because we'll have a Cowboys Live following Monday Night Football, but we'll have a live show for you guys. The NFL trade deadline, by the way, rapidly approaching. We are weeks away from it. We'll round, and it's actually not running. It is 21 days away. So 3 weeks of trade rumors, then it's draft season for the teams that sold and playoff season for everyone else there. So over or under 10.5 more trades between right now and the NFL trade deadline. We've seen a bunch of late day 3 pick swaps and contracts being eaten. J.C. Jackson goes back to New England. Randy Gregory goes to San Francisco. Van Jefferson heads down to the Atlanta Falcons. So O for over, U for under. Over or under 10.5 trades between right now and the NFL trade deadline. We saw a lot more action last year, which I found very interesting, very curious, and I would like if that continues. I do think the trade deadline is a week or two too early. I think if you push it back a week, you'll get more action because it will just teams are going to be more willing to sell. Like that's where they're at. So O for over, U for under. Chua says under. Shelley Dahlman says over. Justin Burkett says over. Cameron says under. I'm cheering for the over because trades are fun. I enjoy talking trades across the board of like being entertained and having player movement and draft picks being. It's enjoyable when there isn't that much player movement during the regular season. A lot more in the offseason, free agency wise. Not as much trades. So O for over, U for under. Josh and Zaire both typing in their O's for over. Let's talk Mike McCarthy here. We're 5 games into the Mike McCarthy taking over the play calling experiment in Dallas, and I have been ridiculously underwhelmed so far. This has not been a impressive group. Like of the designs, the stuff that didn't work in Green Bay for Mike McCarthy. The stuff that eventually led to him getting fired, instead of abandoning that, he has leaned harder into it. Okay? It's weird. Not really the great way to go about it there. So, unless the Cowboys can right the ship, and like they're still going to be a playoff team, don't get me wrong. They'll be the 5 or 6 seed in the wild card, and they might even win a wild card game again. They have shown nothing to say that they can beat the 49ers if and when they play them in the postseason. And with the way the offense looks, and even the defense has not played very well either, by the way, to be clear. We make a video about, you haven't beaten good teams. I got the numbers here. I pulled it up the other day, or this morning, I should say. The last good offenses you faced for this Cowboys team, right? You allowed 31 to Green Bay in overtime, 40 to Jacksonville in overtime, 34 to Philadelphia. You did win that game. 19 to Niners, playoffs, good job there. Let's see. You also worked out, or you had 28 against the Cardinals. They're not even a great offense, but they're decent. And 42 against the 49ers. It's not very good. And I'm a big believer in when it's everything, that's coaching. When your offense looks bad, your defense looks bad, that's coaching. And your head coach is the one who leads the way from that perspective. So Caden says yes. Chualor says yes. Shelley says sadly no. He'll stick around. Richardly, I hope. Tony Perez says no. Keith Henry says yes. Says strike that. Keep me. It'll help the other NFC East teams. It's funny. I like it. It's funny. 75% say yes. Mike McCarthy will be fired after this year. That's where we're at. So Y for yes, N for no. Will Mike McCarthy be fired after this year? Y for yes, N for no. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you. See the view from your seat before you buy. You can pull up the app and kind of lean the phone left, lean the phone right, and pull it around, up and down, etc., and get an actual feel for where you are going to be seated. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, and even an hour after it starts, in case you really want to do something last minute. They are the place to find last-minute seats. They've also got what they call zone deals. You know, you don't have to pick your actual seat. Instead, you pick the section. Game Time picks your seats. On average, you're saving 18%. It's a pretty big deal. Like, who cares if you sit in seat 12 or seat 17? Does that really matter? I certainly don't think so. So download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code NFLChat. That's NFLCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account and redeem code NFLCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets and the lowest price, all guaranteed. Let's stick with our coaching conversation. We'll get to a super chat, by the way, as well. Should Bill Belichick be on the hot seat? 1 for yes, 0 for no. 1 for yes, 0 for no. The Patriots look bad, Producer Chris. They don't look very good if you want to chime in. I know that's kind of your team if you want to chime in, but they look bad.
They do look terrible. It's really sad because obviously I'm an Alabama fan, big Mac Jones guy. But who the hell's he got to throw the ball to? That's my biggest thing, man. Like, they have nobody. They have nobody to throw the ball to. And you know how I feel about Bill O'Brien, too. Bryce Young at Alabama won the Heisman despite Bill O'Brien, in my opinion. I hate Bill O'Brien as a play caller. So all of those things combined just is crap to me. I would say no to this question. Is he on the hot seat? I mean, Bill O'Brien, in my personal opinion, can lose every single game for the rest of his career until he retires, and he shouldn't be on the hot seat. That's how I feel about it.
I think it's fair.
Like, I mean, it's, they were okay last year. They were okay the year before. I mean, I'll give him to the end of his career. I would never fire Bill O'Brien.
Can you force him into retirement?
No.
Okay.
No, I think you have to give him because, too, Robert Kraft loves Mac Jones. He loves Mac Jones. So, and we've seen how he felt about, like, Tom Brady and how that situation kind of created a rift between Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, and Tom Brady. So I think you have to give him at least through this year with Mac Jones. Okay, at the end of the year, draft time comes. Then you make a decision. Are you going to go, are you going to go get playmakers? Are you going to go get somebody for the offensive line? Because the offensive line is pretty bad, too.
Tell that to Producer Jack. Producer Jack gets mad every time I mock him on offensive line. I'm like, dude, they're terrible.
They're bad.
Vidarian Lowe sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that right tackle spot's a turnstile.
Yeah.
But he just wants a receiver real bad.
Yeah, I just think you have to
Which
give
Bill
him.
can't draft.
This year is just a freebie year. Freebie year for Bill Belichick.
Okay. Keep the votes coming. 1 for yes, 0 for no. A super chat. Should the Falcons call about Kirk Cousins? Desmond Ridder actually played pretty well last week. I'm going to do a semi-apology for him. But I do think if the Falcons had Kirk Cousins, they'd be the NFC South favorite right now. The Falcons might be undefeated. That offense would be great for Kirk Cousins. All the things he does well are what the Falcons are trying to do on that side of the football. Tons of play action, ground game, hit some nice chunk throws there, get it to your playmakers, even though they spread it around a little bit too much for my liking. But like I don't know if the Falcons were the team. I'd still consider it if I were the Jets. Although maybe Zach Wilson bought himself some leeway as well. But if I'm the Vikings, even though I think Kirk's a very good NFL quarterback, I would trade him. Because your team is bad, despite Kirk playing well. He's in the last year of his deal. Could be a decent time. Could be a decent time to shop him from that perspective. Well, we should hit this one in the mailbag, by the way, Producer Chris. Let's head to our next question. Let's go to some draft conversation here. Could be the Vikings, by the way. Who ends up drafting Caleb Williams this year? Who will win the sweepstakes and then thus lose the rest of their games this season? What team is going to be able to find a way to draft Caleb Williams? Cameron Briglin says the Giants. My guy Marshall Green wants that. Daniel Jones would be a sunk cost. GM Evan Hinder says the Patriots. And if they can tank their way to it, sorry, Mac, you got to go. You got to go. Elite Vikings fan says Vikings. Commanders, the Vikings again from Richard Lee. Applejack says Cowboys, please. I genuinely wonder if 3 wins is already too many. I genuinely wonder if that's too many wins. Or at least like 1 more and you're going to be like 4 is going to be too many. Giants, Oblivion Star says not the Panthers. They might get the number 1 pick, but it ain't going to be for Caleb Williams. Bears, Vikings, Panthers, LOL. Again, let's go to the Bears there. Giants in there too. Steelers. Mike Tomlin's going to win too many games for you. And in general, I think you have to get the number 1 overall pick. Because I don't see a scenario in which you can trade up to the number 1 selection. Unless the Bears go on a 10-game winning streak here and Carolina gets that number 1 overall pick, then maybe. But I don't think that's very likely with the way this Bears team has played overall this year. So I would not have my hopes up for that one. A first-time super chat from _Steve. 2 claps for Steve. Do the Giants pick a quarterback if they have a top pick? Depends on how top that pick is. If they have a premium pick and they need a quarterback, and Daniel Jones play well, and there's one available, all those things stay true, then yes. You know, if they're picking 2 or 3 and, you know, Drake May's there, he's a Giant. If they get the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, you are a Giant. If they're picking like 7 or 6, then maybe not. That's a really good question. I can't fully answer it right now, but it is absolutely in the cards. 100+ people watching live right now. Thank you all who have tuned in. And the goal is always 50% like rate. We are about 50% of the way there to that 50 like number. So help us out. Help us continue to grow, keep the lights on, expand the studio space, etc. here at at NFL Daily for all of our chat sports coverage here. Like that video in the right now. We're at 33. Let's get to 50 in a little bit here. We'll give you more chances to do it. I know there's always some delay from that perspective. But like that video if you haven't already done so. Help us continue to grow here at Chat Sports. Here's what's coming up on today's show. NFL news, rumors, and reaction. Players who should be traded as well. We'll break down the guys who should, maybe they don't. Guys that I think their team should try to trade or teams try to trade for in the end. A mailbag as well. You should know the drill. 2 ways to get on the show. Hashtag NFL or be like Richard Lee and _Steve did and super chat. And I have a fresh 2024 NFL mock draft for you. All coming up live right here on NFL Daily. Fairly loaded NFL trade news, rumors, roundup. Today there's a lot going on. Trade rumors and trade news. We'll break down NFL injury news as well. Some Week 6 takeaways we'll dive into. But there was a trade today. Van Jefferson, in like an hour span of the Rams are shopping him to, he gone. The Atlanta Falcons have acquired Jefferson for a 2025 7th-round pick. The Rams are and a 2025 7th-round pick. Rams get a 2025 6th-round pick. So not this upcoming draft, the one after that. Rams trade a former 2nd-rounder for a box of scraps. And Jefferson probably becomes the 3rd wide receiver in Atlanta. So who won the trade? F for the Falcons, R for the Rams. Sound off for me in the comment section right now with who you think won that particular trade. All right, that was the news. Now, the rumors of the day. The Denver Broncos, per like every media outlet, they're struggling right now. And they could look to trade multiple players at this year's deadline. Some names to monitor as we sit here a couple weeks away from the trade deadline. Names that make the most sense. Courtland Sutton, the wide receiver, and wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. I doubt both those players are there long-term. Judy's cheaper for now. Sutton has a bit more investment. Both players have been a little bit up and down, but if you're a team like Carolina, then it does make sense for Denver to shop those receivers and get maybe a 2nd-round pick back to continue their rebuild. Garrett Bowles, the right tackle. There's a dearth of competent offensive linemen available on the trade market. Bowles would be one of them, and if you're fire sailing, that's a name to monitor. Older player, might not be around for the next 5 years or whatever. Shop him. Inside linebacker Jeudy, final year of his deal, a solid football player, nothing spectacular, but it's not a great group of linebackers available on the open market, so Jeudy certainly makes sense. They've already allegedly been shopping Frank Clark because, he's just not, he's old. Why have old guys when you're bad? That's not what you really want to do. And then Justin Simmons has been kind of whispered as a lesser option or a sleeper option, I suppose, from that perspective. He's a good player. Big contract might be an issue for some teams, but if you're blowing it all up, those are the guys that you tend to shop if you're a team like Denver. One player you probably won't shop, sorry everyone else in the NFL who would love to get a top 5 corner minimum away from Denver, do not get your hopes up for a Patrick Surtain trade. At minimum, it would probably cost you the Jalen Ramsey package of 2 firsts and a day 3 draft pick because he's cheap, young, and awesome. Those are the guys you build around, not the guys you trade away to begin your rebuild. You keep him as a core piece of your defense. At least that's what I would do if I was Denver. I think they'll consider this the same thing. So we got 3 weeks until this year's NFL trade deadline. Over or under 10.5 trades between now and the deadline. O for over, U for under. It's the pinned comment of today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage. Head down there and go vote. One player you might see built or moved as part of that trade is Mecole Hardman. The Jets are shopping him because they gave him a 1-year, $4 million deal. And then, they had all these receivers, and Hardman's like receiver 4 at best right now. He's played 22 snaps on offense. He's buried on the depth chart. Contract-wise, he would cost a little bit over the vet minimum over the course of the season, so it's not too bad. And trade-wise, it'd probably be another one of those, stay 3 pick swaps. We just saw for Van Jefferson, for J.C. Jackson, for Randy Gregory. 1 catch for 6 yards. That's not good. Hardman is pretty quick, explosive, etc. Maybe he can find some redemption elsewhere. He showed some flashes in Kansas City, by the way. 693 yards back in 2021, had a bunch of scores in 2019, and he just kind of flatlined and never improved in the end. So I would not be shocked if Hardman gets moved. I don't think it would be for very much. But if you want to take a gamble on a wide receiver 3-4 option with some speed, that's one of them. So name a player who you would like to see traded. Keep it realistic. Like, I would love it if my team could get Justin Jefferson and Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Donald, whatever, but that's just not going to happen. Realistic names. Who's a player you want to see traded? Injury news here. Justin Jefferson will be placed on injured reserve with his hamstring injury. It's a big blow for fantasy owners. I was so happy that I had Jefferson in literally all of my leagues, and now all my leagues are screwed. Also, what to make note of here is that Adam Schefter is already suggesting Jefferson maybe doesn't want to rush back. The Vikings are struggling. He hasn't gotten paid yet. We all know Jefferson's great. If the Vikings lose some games without him, if they're sitting, let's say 4 games from now, they're 1-4 right now. What if they're like 2-7? Are you going to rush back for a 2-7 non-playoff team? I don't think so. So we'll keep an eye on that one. James Conner, meanwhile, will miss multiple weeks, 4 at minimum. He has also been placed on injured reserve. A big blow to Arizona, who does not have great depth at running back. DeMercado, Emery DeMercado, I think I pronounced that name incorrectly, but I'll double check it. He's going to take over as the lead back right now. Amari DeMercado. Tony Jones also claimed off waivers, and it's not a good group in Arizona. So maybe Keontae Ingram gets some run as well. He hasn't done much so far. He's been a bit banged up as well. Big loss for the Cardinals. And then Devon Achane. I always forget how to pronounce that one. Devon Achane. He's going to miss multiple weeks with a knee injury. Could go on IR. As of filming, no decision on that front, but doesn't exactly bode well for one of the breakout runners this year in the NFL. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of other players. There's no pros, no sharks that you guys have to find a way to beat. It's just you versus the numbers. That's it. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. and watch the winnings, hopefully, roll in. You can make your game watching experience more fun with Prize Picks. Watch your progress update in real time. Win up to 25 times your entry amount. You can also cash out your winnings with quick scoring, settling, and withdrawals. Here are my picks for the week, at least one of my preferred three player picks. Trevor Lawrence, more than passing yards. Jags are about to unleash the offense again. Start bad in the first quarter of the year and then get going. Kenneth Walker, a touchdown against the Bengals. And Cooper Kupp, more than receiving yards as well, because they're going to pepper him with targets there. Get a first deposit match up to $100 when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for that first deposit match up to $100. The link will be in the comments and in the description, but again, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Let's hit some Week 6 takeaways. Number one, in the primetime game, going to be one of the games of the year. It's an awesome matchup, and the Cowboys got rocked. Everything about that game was a dumpster fire for Dallas. People get caught up over the interceptions. Though they were really in garbage time. The game was, for all intents and purposes, over. However, doesn't excuse the lack of a bad offense before that. They did not move the ball well at all. Tony Pollard was a no-show. CeeDee Lamb wasn't getting targeted. And this vaunted defense that's supposed to be so great couldn't stop a nosebleed again. Niners ran through all over them. Your head coach basically quit in the first half when he punted on 4th and 2 and then kicked a field goal down by 2 touchdowns in the third quarter when you couldn't do anything on defense. Everything about that game was just an embarrassment for Dallas. And I am a big believer, as bad as pretty much everyone but Kevontae Turpin and the kicker were, the entire team played poorly. But when it's everybody, including your quarterback, the running back, the receivers, the D-line, O-line, all that stuff, I believe that is a coaching problem. It's always been my mindset. Mike McCarthy was brought in to get the Cowboys past this particular team, as the play caller, I should say. Because the Niners kicked the Cowboys' butt 2 years in a row. It got closer last year. And then this time around, it was even less close. That's got to be concerning. How can it not be? So will Mike McCarthy be fired after this year? Get those predictions in. Y for yes or N for no. And I don't want to make this all about the Cowboys, by the way. I want to give some love to the 49ers. This team is stupid good. The difference is in the talent is definitely favors the Niners over the Cowboys, but you're able to see what Steve Wilks can do on defense. And what the job that Kyle Shanahan has done of designing his plays, scheming guys open, and Brock Purdy being the upgrade button twice over Jimmy Garoppolo, just having a little bit more, cojones to hit some of those over the middle throws and not wilt under pressure the same way Jimmy G did. It is a big enough upgrade that this Niners team should absolutely be viewed as the best team in the NFL. When they are on and healthy, I genuinely do not know how you beat them right now. You take away Kittle. There's Ayuk and Samuel and McCaffrey. You actually do some good coverage stuff, and Purdy drops a dime in, layers a throw over the linebacker between the safety. They're playing winning football right now, and it's very, very impressive. They were not quite. There's one holdout still. I don't really know why. In terms of our Week 6 NFL power rankings, I had the Niners at number 1. Almost everyone did here at Chat Sports. If you did not watch that video, please do so. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV for that video. And make sure you're not missing out on stuff. Hit that sub button for up-to-date NFL coverage, live shows like this one. Red Zone. We'll keep doing Red Zone for you guys on Sunday as well. Make sure you are subbed. Do not miss out. Number 3, the Bills are a great football team. Don't get me wrong. I think they're top 3, whatever, in the AFC. I am worried about the defense. Not because of anything they've done, because of who they've lost. 2 massive pieces. Trey White out for the year with an Achilles. His running mate on the outside at corner, Christian Bedford, should be back soon, but he is also battling a shoulder injury at this point. Matt Milano has a leg issue. He's out for the year. It was a brutal injury. He's a huge part of that defense. They were trying to replace the Tremaine Edmonds, and they got to replace both guys. That sucks. Gregory Russo's been banged up. So is Shaq Lawson. Those guys should be back soon. And Daquan Jones, it seems like, is going to be out for the season with a torn pectoral, or at least a good portion of the season. That's a lot to overcome. Let's stick in the AFC East. The Patriots are an absolute mess. It is not a good situation. The hiring of Bill O'Brien was supposed to make the offense and Mac Jones look better, because how could it be any worse with rocket scientists and Joe Judge and Matt Patricia out there in charge? It's gotten worse. And Mac Jones, it's not just like he's just making terrible decisions. He's throwing across his body into coverage and getting pick six. Like, the QBR numbers actually might not even do justice to how poor he's been so far this year. He has not been the worst quarterback in the NFL, but the last touchdown drive for the Patriots was something like 12 quarters ago, something in that range, because they got blanked by the Saints. They had 3 against the Cowboys, and they didn't score a touchdown until the second quarter of since the second quarter of the Jets game. It's been 10 quarters since they scored a touchdown. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for Bill Belichick. As great as he has been, at a certain point, time waits for no man. So should Bill Belichick be on the hot seat? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Number 5 takeaway. I slandered him last week. I will issue a apology for now. I still need to see more than just one game. But Desmond Ridder was way better against the Houston Texans, and in fact was the main reason why the Falcons took down Houston. 75.7% completion rate, 329 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, still some throws he would wish that he'd have back, but there's 30-ish NFL quarterbacks who would sign up for that, and it might actually be all 32, frankly, because you do that every game, you're the MVP. Very impressive performance out of Desmond Ridder. The supporting cast is good in Atlanta. Arthur Smith, he does not feature Drake London or Kyle Pitts the way we want to, but the offense, when the quarterback isn't terrible, actually does do a good job. Hopefully that continues for Atlanta. Super chat time from Mohamed Castiro. Not sure how to pronounce it, Mohamed, but 2 claps for Mohamed. First time super chat there. Can Brock Purdy win Comeback Player of the Year? He also put in a $10 one, so thank you, Mohamed. I really do appreciate that, my friend. I don't think he'll win Comeback Player of the Year because he only missed like a half a game, you know? I don't think that alone is enough. Now, maybe he'll be in the running. He might win NFL MVP, though. He keeps this up of playing like nearly perfect football. He very well might. I think your Comeback Player of the Year, think it's going to be Baker Mayfield. If things continue, wouldn't it go to Baker Mayfield? Wouldn't it? We'll see. All right, who do you think is the best NFL team so far this season? I think it's going to be, I think it's the 49ers. Actually, Jacob's right. No, Jacob's right. It's DeMar Hamlin. He's right. He's played one, doesn't matter. The dude died on the field and came back. Jacob is right. He's gonna win. He's gonna win. You're right, my friend. Best team so far this year: Miami, Niners, Eagles, Cowboys. I don't think so. I don't think Cowboys. Niners in there. I think it's San Francisco pretty clearly. They have been just wildly impressive so far this season. Chiefs, since week 1, they've been up there. I think they're certainly one of the better teams. It's a super chat now from Poppy Chulo Sits. Bears trade the number 1 pick to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. If the Bears need a quarterback, no. You need the quarterback. You can't trade in a different draft, like in last year's draft class. Yes, Cowboys also wouldn't do it in last year's class. This year's class, Bears won't if they need a quarterback. And frankly, the haul you might be able to get might still exceed Micah somehow, of being able to get all the draft picks from somebody for the next 2 or 3 years, whatever. You need the quarterback. You can't not have one. If Fields does not show massive growth, then okay. If Fields wins 10 straight games, which I think is really unlikely just with the way the Bears team is built overall, including on offense and on defense, then maybe they shop that number 1 overall pick. But I'm going to believe whoever has the number 1 overall pick and end of the season, it's Caleb, and it's not getting traded. Unless Caleb says, get me out of here. I didn't want to trade. Even then, they might go full John Elway and still take the guy, you know? All right, best NFL team so far this year, Fins, 49ers, Indy, Chiefs, etc. I don't know. I think it's Niners in the AFC, or in the NFC. In the AFC, make a great argument for Chiefs or Miami. Both teams, especially outside of maybe one bad game early on this year, of course, have been very, very impressive. Some NFL players who I think should be traded coming up next on today's show. Before that, if you have not already, please make sure you are subscribed, youtube.com/chatsportstv. All right, some players who should be dealt. I'm going to begin with Jerry Jeudy. And I'll make note, by the way, I will limit myself to no more than 2 players per team. That includes you, Denver, since there's like 8 of those guys who maybe could fall in that bucket. I'll go with Jerry Jeudy. Courtland Sutton also makes sense, but Judy's got, younger, maybe a little bit more athletic juice, maybe has shown some flashes, was really good down the stretch last year, hasn't been nearly as productive this year. If you are a team like Carolina, I do think it makes sense to call about Jerry Jeudy and see if you can get some more playmakers for Bryce Young, which, by the way, maybe they shouldn't have traded DJ Moore in the first place. We'll come back to that actually in a little bit on today's video. Frank Clark, next up on this list, the Broncos edge rusher. This is a player that honestly, you can make an argument you can at least keep Jerry Jeudy because he's young enough, but keeping a player like Frank Clark actually does not make sense. He's old. He's a veteran pass rusher. That guy does not help you long term. Trade him away. I think it won't be expensive. Someone should call about Frank Clark if they want some pass rush help. Time for my big take one. That is Kirk Cousins. Minnesota, I am a big believer in this. Kirk Cousins is a very good NFL quarterback. He is. He's not an elite NFL quarterback. He's not some obvious top 5 guy. I think he's in the top 10 or fringe top 10, somewhere in that area. And that's good enough for a lot of teams. But as this Vikings team is currently constructed, even though Kirk Cousins has played well this year, they're still losing football games. And this would be a different conversation if Kirk Cousins was not in the final year of his contract. But he is. Minnesota is not a good football team. They're not. They've got issues everywhere. So why not take the chance with Justin Jefferson now out for at least 4 weeks to trade away Kirk Cousins, get a draft pick back, ship him to the Jets or somebody. He has a no-trade clause, I believe, by the way, so that has to be factored into consideration. And you know what? Bottom out for Caleb Williams or Drake May and get a cheap young quarterback and reset that clock and the timer on your franchise guy because you're in the last year of his deal. I think that makes a lot of sense for Minnesota. We'll get to one more player they could trade away as well here. But first, do you agree with me? Should the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on today's show. If that ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage. Head down there and let me know. Danielle Hunter, next up on our list. Again, this is a very good football player. Hunter, pretty consistently, is going to give you a ton of sacks when healthy. He has almost been a sack per game guy. He's at 6 sacks this year through 5 games. That's awesome. Leads the NFL in tackles for loss. He had 10.5 in a down year in 2022. 2021, come back from injury, 6 sacks in 7 games. 2019, 14.5 sacks. Now, the injuries are a red flag. That has to be vetted. He's not getting paid that much money, relatively speaking. So if you are a contender and you need a rental pass rusher, this is a player to call Minnesota about. I think off-ball linebacker Jordan Hicks makes sense. Andrew Booth is not getting much playing time for them. All of those things are absolutely said from that perspective. So we'll see what happens for Danielle Hunter and Minnesota and Kirk Cousins moving forward. Hunter Renfrow, the Raiders wide receiver. I don't really get it. What's going on from that perspective? He's not playing. Remember when Hunter Renfrow was a 1,000-yard receiver for the Raiders? I do. Josh McDaniels comes to town. He's had about a full season's worth of games, and my guy's caught 43 passes. How does that make sense? How? Explain it to me like I am. Is he hurt? Is he bad now? I don't think either of those things are really true. Bit nicked up last year, of course. Send him to like Buffalo. Imagine Renfrow as the underneath guy in the Cole Beasley role. That could work really well for both sides, frankly, because if you're not going to play him, contract's a bit of an issue. Trade him. Now, today's show was made possible by Game Time. It is the fast and easy way to buy the tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, whatever it is, near you. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time simply takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app today at gametime.co, create your account, and use code NFLChat. Just create the account, hit the profile at the bottom right of the screen, and then go to redeem code, plug in NFLCHAT to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but download Game Time today for last-minute tickets, the lowest price, all guaranteed. The link and the promo code will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. I said we would come back to it. When the Chicago Bears got the number 1 overall pick to Carolina in exchange for DJ Moore and more draft capital, DJ Moore was not the only player they asked about. They asked about Derek Brown, and they asked about Brian Burns. Carolina decided that it would be easier to replace the wide receiver. Might not be the most inaccurate statement, except they have not taken a wide receiver who is a part of that impact. They're still trying to find one. And they kept Brian Burns and have not paid him yet. And now it might make sense to shop Brian Burns to get the draft capital to help you get some more help for Bryce Young, which sounds rude, but that's how it was. Burns allegedly wants $28 million a year. Carolina offered 23 per ESPN, all allegedly, of course. That's a pretty sizable gap. Carolina should consider it. Let's go to Budda Baker, the Arizona Cardinals safety. Now, Baker got a restructured deal from Arizona this year. He was placed on IR, has missed some time. He's got to get healthy. There is time before that trade deadline there. Also owed $14.3 million in the final year of his deal. That's a bit of an issue. But Arizona traded away pieces like Isaiah Simmons and others for very little return. Josh Jones. They did not get a lot back for those players. I think they would get more for Budda Baker, but I don't think it would be the premium pick that maybe the Cardinals thought they might get when he first demanded a trade. He's happy for now, but if he comes back in 2 weeks, Arizona's won 1 game still, might make sense to shop him. So prediction time. How many trades happened before this year's NFL trade deadline? Don't count any ones that have happened so far. How many more trades end up happening? Predict it for me in the comment section right now. The Giants thought about Saquon Barkley here, but you might need him to get a feel for if Daniel Jones is good or not. You might need that. Leonard Williams, the defensive lineman out of New York, he is in the final year of his deal. Now, money's a huge issue here. He's owed $18 million. But if the Giants keep bottoming out, you know what could make some sense? Eating a bunch of that money, since it's already accounted for on your books, on your ledger after all, and getting a draft pick back. There are plenty of teams, contenders that would love a potentially impact defensive lineman, although he has not been the same high-end guy we've seen in the past. We'll see what happens to Leonard Williams. That's a good name to consider for the Giants to shop and for teams to call about if they're looking to add some defensive line talent. To the Chicago Bears here. That is Jalen Johnson, the cornerback. Again, similar mold as these guys. Last year of his deal has not been paid yet. I think he's a pretty good football player. The Bears' defense is up and down. If the issue for Chicago in particular, unlike maybe Carolina or New York, or especially Arizona, if that regime does not win games, their heads are going to roll. GM Ryan Poles might not stick around. Head coach Matty Eberflus might not stick around. So trading away a good corner helps you lose games, makes sense for a rebuilding team, but you always have to remember that jobs are on the line. So name a player who you would love to see traded. Sound off in the comment section right now. Keep it realistic. No Mahomes, okay? But name a player who you want to see moved. Rashad Penny is next up here. That is the Eagles running back. I thought he'd be a pretty good player for Philadelphia. Turns out DeAndre Swift is just way better, and Kenny Gainwell's been solid too. Penny might get a shot somewhere else. When healthy, he's been good. I think he would thrive on the Eagles' offensive line, but hasn't gotten a shot yet. Maybe somewhere else he could get that shot. So keep an eye on Rashad Penny being a potential, even though the Eagles are good, much like the Rams trading Van Jefferson, could be a player you see getting shopped before this year's NFL trade deadline comes and goes. There are two NFL teams who are left undefeated. The 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. 4 for the 49ers, E for the Eagles. Who's the first one to lose a game? Shelly says E for the Eagles. Big Dog Wolf says E. Bearded Niner says E. Daryl Richards says E. Daniel Moriarty says E. It's all E's in the comment section so far. To give you some more insight, the 49ers' upcoming schedule. They will play the Cleveland Browns this upcoming week on Sunday. On the road, maybe Deshaun Watson, maybe not. Then they go on the road again against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. Then they host the Bengals October 29th and then November 12th, so after the bye, they visit the Jags. So I'd say 2 games before, barring a crazy upset, maybe you start to get worried about the 49ers losing a game. The Eagles go on the road against the Jets. Then, next Sunday, they host the Dolphins. That's going to be an awesome game. That is, by the way, that is Sunday Night Football. That's going to be an awesome game. Then they host the Commanders or visit the Commanders, host the Cowboys, bye week, visit the Chiefs. So if you think they'll beat the Dolphins, maybe you lean the Niners lose first. But I think the Eagles are probably your best. But I think they've not that the Eagles have been bad this year. You're undefeated. You're not a bad team. Let me be clear on that. But the Niners, I think, look just so much better than anybody else right now. All right, mailbag coming up here, folks. 2 ways to get on the show. You can use hashtag NFL or Super Chat. The Super Chats that have come in so far, outside of the $10 from Mohammed that doesn't have a question in it, we'll hit those as part of the mailbag here. We'll bring them up again and answer them again since, not everyone saw them the first time. And we want to give you guys some love for donating. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Again, 2 ways to get on the show. Use hashtag NFL. I see Gary and, Zaire is not using hashtag NFL, but he's got some questions, comments in there. But use hashtag NFL to get in the queue, or else producer Chris cannot find your question. So hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the show. If you guys enjoy our live NFL shows like we're doing right now, and the mailbags like we're doing right now, then show us. Like the video right now so we can prove that, yes, this is the stuff you guys are looking for. Show us simply by liking today's video. A super chat to begin from Rashard Leash. The Falcons call about Kirk Cousins. I think Desmond Ridder bought some time with a great effort against Houston, but if he does not get it fully together the next 3 weeks, I think you have to consider it. The Falcons are a playoff team. I think they're the favorites in the NFC South with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. The Jets should probably still consider it. I think Minnesota makes sense to shop him because you're bad, even though your quarterback's good, and he's in the last year of his deal. If Kirk had 2 or 3 more years left, it wouldn't make sense. He's got 1 more year left, so it actually might. _ Steve. The Giants pick a QB if they have a top pick. Depends on, what quarterbacks are available / how high of a pick is that is. If it's the number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, you are a Giant. If it's number 2 pick, Drake May, you are a Giant. If it's like pick number 7, maybe, I'm not sure. We'll see how the rest of the quarterbacks fare because QB3 battle is still very much open for this year's NFL draft. But if they're top 10, top 5, top whatever, they're going to consider it. They have to. From Steve, speaking of the Giants, should they trade Saquon Barkley? Part of me wonders if you're better off keeping Saquon, if only to just get a better feel for how good Daniel Jones really is. And he was solid last year, but that was maybe his best year, and it was still kind of like just solid. The underlying, the raw metrics were fine. We're actually borderline good. Some of the underlying ones were like, hey, there's these concerns, and then those concerns popped up this year. You trade away Saquon Barkley, I don't think Jones will have much success, and you paid him $40 million a year, and it's kind of a sunk contract next year with the way it's structured. So, but you could get a draft pick back and get a higher pick and maybe draft a young QB. So I'm open to it. I also don't know how much interest there will be given that, once again, Saquon Barkley's banged up. That's been a big concern for this organization, and it, unfortunately, reared its head again this year. So should the Giants trade Saquon Barkley? Y for yes, N for no. We'll make this question, the one right here on screen, the pinned comments of today's video. So if that ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Y for yes, N for no. From Poppy Chulo sits, Bears trade the number 1 pick to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. Unless Justin Fields leads the Bears some miraculous win and the Bears have picked like 23 or whatever, and the Cowboys missed the playoffs and the Bears had the number 1 pick from Carolina, it's just not going to happen. Whoever gets that number 1 overall pick, they're taking Caleb Williams. There will be, should they trade it, get a haul. There'll be those articles, there's stories. There will be that Caleb Williams should demand a trade. Florio will do it. No matter who the team is, Florio will do it. He does it every single year. There's a quarterback we're taking number 1 overall that's very clear, like the number 1 pick. Did it for Joe Burrow, did it for Lawrence. I guarantee you he will do it for Caleb Williams again. It's not going to happen. Unless Caleb says F you and is actually firm about it, which I don't kind of buy about that one. It's going to be Caleb Williams. It's the quarterback. It's too important. As great as Micah Parsons is, and there's a non-zero chance he's better than the number 1 pick is because he's awesome, it's the quarterback. What that pick means to your franchise, the hope, the ticket sales, everything it brings to your organization, it's more valuable than what it would be just like a normal player. It's the pick. What it could become carries immense value. From Muhammad, can Brock Purdy win Comeback Player of the Year? I think he might win NFL MVP, frankly. I would not. He's played great this year. It's like the Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners offense, except Purdy's better under pressure, and he's got more cojones, and he'll make some more tight window throws than Jimmy G would. That's a scary combination. He's a great fit for Shanahan. Let's give both those guys, including Purdy, a lot of the credit. I doubt he comes back Player of the Year. I think Baker makes more sense at quarterback, and then it's probably just going to be DeMar Hamlin in the end. Not that I don't even blame him. It's the story, I think it's DeMar or Baker over Purdy. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It is also the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including the pros and the sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. They have a vast selection of sports and stat types not offered anywhere else. You even do in-game projections once the game has started, like more than on first half second half rushing yards or passing yards or whatever. Here are my pregame Week 6 picks. Trevor Lawrence, more than passing yards. Kenneth Walker, more than a half, so just 1 total, touchdown on the air or through the ground. And more than Cooper Kupp receiving yards. I thought about Jag receivers, but I don't want to overcommit to just 1 game there in the end. I think that's a smart play to go about it there. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link will be in the comments and in the description. Again, that is prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Chris B, Super Chat, $2. I'll be honest, I'm close to done with Mike McCarthy. All the things that Packers fans said, hey, this is why it's or might not work for you. All the things that McCarthy was doing on offense that didn't work in Green Bay, that led to him getting fired, that led to Rodgers, the second he was gone, winning 2 NFL MVPs, they've done them all again. I kind of agree with you, Chris. There's time to get it figured out. My confidence is very low at the moment. Cameron Briglin. I think the Eagles will be the first team to go to back-to-back NFC, I think you mean NFC East titles in 20 years this season. Or maybe you just mean, I don't know if you mean, there's an NFC East curse, so maybe that's not 20. NFC title games, I think it's the 49ers year. It's early, things can change, but I think you need, I'm going with the Niners there. NFC East, though, yeah, I do think so. Madden Nation 2023. Patriots for the number 1 overall pick and take Drake May. That would be divisive. But again, I don't think you can get to the number 1 overall pick. I don't think you can. I think it's going to be Caleb or Drake if you want to go that route. And those guys are like franchise guys. At least they're going to be viewed as those. Should not trade them. Big Dog Wolf. A Najee Harris trade to who and what's the price? I don't think Pittsburgh will sell because somehow, some way, despite that offense being bad, Mike Tomlin has them winning games. So I don't think it happens. If it were to happen, team that could use a power runner, I don't think you go for more than a 4th rounder at this point. The scheme is not great, but Najee's not that explosive. I don't think there'd be a crazy amount of value for a player like Najee Harris right now. Maybe with some injuries, Miami considers it. They're a bit nicked up, but Devon Achane's going to be back soon, so I kind of think it just does not happen. From Paul, should the Vikings tank, trade Kirk Cousins, and get Caleb Williams? Again, this is not anti-Kirk Cousins. I think he's a really good NFL quarterback. I think he's somewhere in that 8 to 12 range. He's really good. He does a fantastic job. But he's on the last year of his deal, and this team is bad. So you have to take the longer view and ship him off somewhere else and get Caleb Williams or Drake May or whoever and set yourself up for longer-term success. Because right now, short-term, this team might just be capped at making the playoffs and maybe winning a game. But at least, and even right now, maybe missing the playoffs. So name a player who you want to see traded. Keep it realistic, but name a player who you want to see traded. Gary Sanderson, how do you feel about the Cowboys hiring Bobby Slowick or Ben Johnson? 2 great names. I also don't trust the Jones boys to do that and or let them run the offense that they need to. Those are great options. We talked about Bobby Slowick when they fired Kellen Moore or parted ways with Kellen Moore, whatever. Would have been a great hire then. I don't trust them, the Jones boys, to let this coaching staff run their offense. Daryl Richard. Will the Lions be buyers for the deadline? If so, who's more likely, Brian Burns or Mike Evans? The Bucs are not going to be sellers. They're 3-1. They're going to fight for a playoff spot. So I doubt Mike Evans is available. Brian Burns might be. I also don't know if the Lions would give up the draft capital required. It'd be an expensive trade. I think you're talking about a first, if not a first and change. But I think Burns is more likely there. Chris B. again. Did the Cowboys do anything at the trade deadline? Maybe a linebacker they add? If injuries happen, maybe, but do you want to trade draft capital right now when you're just not close to the Niners? We thought they were close. After last week, they're not close. Now, if you want daily NFL videos, you guys have come to the right spot. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Bearded Niner. Niners have been to back-to-back NFC title games, so make it 3. I think the last chat was not clear. I think he meant Super Bowls, like winning the NFC, like Eagles did last year. I don't remember off the top of my head what the last, if that time frame was right. He also just might have meant NFC. But I do agree that the Niners, I think, are going to be in the NFC title game again this year. It'll probably be Niners, Philadelphia, those 2 teams with the class of the NFC right now. Sorry, Lions, and I'd say sorry, Cowboys, but you just got your, rocked 42-10. Zaire Brown, trade Josh Jacobs or Devontae Adams. The Raiders might talk themselves into still winning football games. If they had lost to Green Bay, we'd have been talking about those guys today. But they won, and that matters for them in terms of having success with where things sit between Jacobs and Adams. Carter Reimer, who could Miami trade for? Maybe you go back to the Denver well, and you go back to Garrett Bowles. Like maybe that's a path you consider going on for Miami and for Denver. Brett Jones, can a contender get Patrick Surtain? I don't think so. Surtain's a great football player. I love what he's able to do, but the cost of getting Patrick Surtain would be somewhere in the Jalen Ramsey, if not even maybe more than Jalen Ramsey trade. 2 firsts, a day 3 pick. And Denver, Surtain is young. Like, he's young. He's talented. He's really good. Like, I don't think that's going to be someone that gets moved. If it does, great for the contender. He's a good player. So will a first-round pick be traded before the NFL trade deadline? Type in 1 for yes or 2 for no. Big Bo, any more 49ers trades? I don't think so, barring injuries. But if there's like the right player, maybe you find a corner that you love, or maybe you go, screw it, let's go get Patrick Surtain. This Niners team is very complete. It's an awesome, talented football player or team. If there's the right trade, they should be aggressive to go do it. Jordan D. Since the Falcons didn't move today, I think they might make another big splash, or maybe something to be a better team. Depends on who's really available. The Jefferson move was pretty minor, so I wouldn't read too much into that area in terms of where things currently sit. But I think it's more likely the Falcons just kind of sit where they're at and continue to eval Desmond Ridder moving forward. So what do you like more? D for the draft, T for trades, or F for free agency? D, T, or F? Yeah, he got it. I was staring at him to get it figured out there. Oh, I do it on purpose every time. Always on purpose. This D, T, or F? Underscore Steve says D. Big Dog Wolf says F. D, T, or F in the comment section. Rashard Lee says D. It's intentional because it's funny. It's funny. Oblivion says TFD, but all of them. Trades are more fun in the NBA because they happen. We've had a lot of trades so far. J.C. Jackson, Randy Gregory, Van Jefferson for like the combined value of 1 4th-round pick. All 3 guys, if that even. It's not exactly earth-shattering type of movement there. So get your comments in. D, T, or F. What do you guys enjoy more as we'll get set up for our final segment here of today's show? Olivia says trades are going to have little they happen. True, but I like the volume of the NFL draft, which we'll get to here in just a moment, by the way, folks. Coming up on today's show, a brand new 2024 NFL mock draft, the order of which was determined by the actual current NFL draft order. So don't get mad at me. I'm not projecting where your team finishes. It's where they currently sit. At number 1, hilariously via the Carolina Panthers, the Chicago Bears. They've got 1 and 2, and that means they're taking Caleb Williams. If they're picking like 22, okay, maybe they don't. But if they're picking 1, it's got to be Caleb Williams. He is a special quarterback prospect. I still want to see some more like in-structure stuff a little bit, but the stuff he can do is awesome. Now, if you want more NFL draft videos like this one, help show the bosses this. I know it's only October. The draft, it feels like it's an entire year away. But if you want more, like the video right now. Marvin Harrison Jr. I went back and forth. Do you take the receiver? Do you take the offensive lineman? Let's move on from Darnell Mooney, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Man, that's fun for Chicago. The Broncos at 3. I had quarterback in here initially, but the more I look at this Broncos team, as memeable as Russ has been, the offense has not been the problem in Denver. This defense sucks. Problem is, it's not a very good defensive draft class. So I did put Liatu Latu here out of UCLA. I know he's not the big name like, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, the hype going into the year. He has been unbelievable. I think number 3 is too early. I think the most likely one is Denver trades this pick and gets assets, or they, just take the quarterback, which I think is a real possibility too. But I'm not doing trades right now. And Russ is Russ, but he's actually been better this year under Sean Payton. So should the Broncos draft a quarterback? If you say yes, I totally get it. I don't disagree that much with you at all, if at all. So Y for yes, N for no. Go vote in the comments section. Minnesota is then very happy, and they get Drake May out of UNC. You move on from Kirk Cousins, and you have your new franchise guy. In a normal class, Drake May is quarterback 1, maybe even comfortably. Now to where I don't know about these next 2 picks, but they're fun, and they have quarterback issues. J.J. McCarthy. If the Patriots are picking 5, it means Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi continue to be bad all year. That's what that means, right? I love what McCarthy can do. He's not a finished product yet, but the arm strength and mobility, it's very intriguing. I think he'd be a good fit in New England. I think Bill Belichick could help maximize him if you can figure out your play calling too. The Giants, I almost went with Olu Fashanu here to help out that offensive line. I really did. But if you're picking 6, I get the offensive line is bad. Daniel Jones has been terrible. If your O-line is bad, you have to get the football out quickly. And he's not. He's making mistakes. So I don't even know if Shedeur Sanders goes pro. By the way, he might go back to school for 1 more year. That actually does make some sense for him. But Giants might have to go quarterback. I'm sorry, guys. So in the end, all these teams, they're kind of they're taking for Caleb, aren't they? Who drafts Caleb Williams this upcoming year? Who gets the number 1 overall pick is what I'm asking. It's the pinned comment on today's show. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know. Arizona's going to go defense here. We'll talk about Quinn Ewers later. I don't love the quarterbacks here. But cornerback is a big concern for Arizona. McKinstry's not for everyone play style-wise, but I think he's awesome. Not the burner, but he's really good. Love his fit in Arizona. Green Bay, here's your David Bakhtiari replacement. And Olu Fashanu will probably be my number 3 player, maybe number 4 player, somewhere in that range. To get him an 8 because of the quarterback bump and Denver, going edge instead of tackle, huge addition. Would be a huge pick for Green Bay. I have seen my guy Mitchell Renz complain a lot about the interior D-line for the Raiders. Here you go, my friend. It's probably a bit early for Jerzon Newton, to be quite honest, but the need is certainly there. And I'm a fan of his play style. He's not that big, but damn if he's not explosive and impactful. Arizona goes 2 Bama players. Why not? Dallas Turner out of Alabama. Here's this pick, by the way, via the Texans. Here's an edge rusher. The Cardinals are having some good defensive results, despite having a bunch of no-name dudes on that side of the football. So they basically went BPA both times on the defensive side with these selections. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. It is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for whatever sporting event, theater, concert, whatever you're going to, because you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets. I'm a big fan of their zone deals. So basically what that means is you pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. Do I care if I sit in seat 1 or seat 21 or seat 7? No, I don't care. So save the money then, right? Game Time's guarantee, by the way, means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, they will credit you 110% of the difference. I also like how you can, this next one, you hold your phone up, you can see where you're sitting, and just like a live photo, look around, see where you're actually sitting. It's awesome. Download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code NFLChat for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms apply, but create your account, click the profile button, and then go to redeem code and plug in NFLCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, all guaranteed. The Jets need offensive line help. Here's a quality one in Joe Alt, the offensive tackle. Just going to plug in a tackle for the Jets, and so for the instance, that pick will not be going to Green Bay. The Commanders at 12. Sam Howell's a chaos agent. He will make some awesome stand-in gunslinger throws, and then he will hold the ball for a country hour. He will not get rid of it. Or a daylight savings hour, maybe makes more sense if I don't merge my analogies there. He'll hold it way too long. Quinn Ewers, he's still not good at the deep ball. When flag football, if that becomes an Olympic event, by the way, this is our quarterback. We're sending Quinn Ewers out to represent the country, and we're going to win. He's perfect for it. But the consistency, I hate the footwork, but footwork's for individual people. I'm scared of him. But it's got some fun arm angle stuff, and you can't teach that. So how many quarterbacks are drafted in round 1? I've got 5 in here. I think the over-under is going to be 4.5. It's a good class overall, though. It's deep, too. Get your predictions in for me in the comments section right now. All right, Amarius Mims here at number 13. The underdog experiment has not gone very well, so let's try a new left tackle. Mims has been banged up, but he's really good when he's been out there. Brock Bowers, I finally found a spot for him, right? Joe Burrow, Brock Bowers, Jamar Chase as your receiving core. Oh, man. That's awesome. Jared Verse has not been the guy I hoped he was going to be this year, but he's still talented. Not going to overreact to 6-ish game sample size. I'll still put him in round 1 to a team that needs pass rush help in L.A. Chargers need cornerback help. Cooper DeJean is an awesome player. He is the best player on that Iowa team by a massive margin. He basically beat Michigan State by himself. I'm not even kidding. It basically was all him. He is a round 1. He should go round 1 or else teams are making mistakes. Houston. Receiver's not the biggest need, but I think it'd be fun to put C.J. Stroud up with his old teammate since you probably can't get into Marvin Harrison range. This pick, by the way, via the Browns, Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. The Saints at 18, J.C. Latham. You're going latham. They have Ryan Ramczyk at right tackle. They've got Trevor Penning at left tackle. You're right. I'm plugging one of those guys in at guard. Probably Penning and more likely Latham. That interior line's not been very good. I know that they re-signed Ruiz. He's been kind of middling. Andres Pete's not it anymore, so I would look at it. Kick him inside its guard. I think he could do it. He's big. I think he could do it, though. Now, the 2024 NFL Draft will be here before you guys know it. So make sure you are subscribed for more mock drafts, player prospect discussion, and, of course, the actual NFL Draft live right here on Chat Sports. Number 19, Chop Robinson. Let's get some more pass rush help. I know that the Penn State edge picker for Arnold McKinney has not worked out yet, but Robinson finally started to show some stuff. He's got the traits to be a special player. Kalen King to the Colts. I want some more cornerback help for them. King's got that dog in him. I like that. And my corner needs to have that, by the way, or else I'm just not very interested. All right, we got to get some more receivers in here. It's a good receiver class, but there were not any massive, obvious, glaring holes there. Keon Coleman, here's your big-bodied wide receiver. It's an upgraded version of Gabe Davis, basically. Don't pay Gabe Davis. Draft Keon Coleman. He'll win jump balls for Josh Allen all day. The Cowboys at 22. I don't love it, but Barrett Carter here. Leighton Vander Esch is not healthy again. We'll see how Damone Clark fares in his absence. Barrett Carter's probably a top 30-ish player, so 22 is fine there, and Cowboys have a need. Number 23, the Baltimore Ravens. Did you guys watch last week's game? These guys can't catch. It dropped 7 passes, 2 of them in the end zone. They would have blown up Pittsburgh. They could just catch the freaking football. Here's a better player in Malik Neighbors. I'll be honest. The Ravens recklessly overpaid for Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, and Rashad Bateman, who I liked, has not been good so far. Seattle, they have some free agents coming up along the defensive line. I like Leonard Taylor a lot. I don't know how long Jerron Reed will be there for. Let's give an impactful defensive tackle to Seattle because I think trench play, interior play matters a lot in the modern day NFL. Who is your favorite NFL draft prospect? Any player, not best, just favorite. Who do you have a big-time crush on? Sound off in the comments. Number 25, McKinley Jackson out of Texas A&M. You've seen how that defensive line isn't playing as well without Cam Hayward. Jackson's kind of more of a nose guard. I think Keanu Benton as your long-term pieces is really intriguing up front for Pittsburgh. The Jags, I'm not sold on Mason Smith right now. It is spelled with 2 A's, by the way. They need some upside. I know the Caleb Von Chase pick did not go well, but hey, different positions. Let's see how that pans out. Denzel Burke to Tampa. Corners have been banged up. I like the way Burke has played this season, by the way. He's taken a massive step forward. I like that fit down in Tampa. Up to Detroit now. Injuries, 1-year deals, cornerbacks uncertain. I think Nate Wiggins is kind of underrated. I think he's a very, very good player. So I'll put him here at 28 to the Detroit Lions. When we get to the actual draft, I bet someone will have caught my eye and I'll replace Graham Barton on this list. But he can play guard or tackle, I think. And the Dolphins need that. Their guys are banged up. Isaiah Wynn's been kind of mediocre. I think it makes sense. Now, Philly doesn't normally invest that high in a safety. I think they need one. A playmaker in the back end at safety. They miss Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, whether they want to admit it or not. They miss him out there. Cameron Kitchens is a ball hawk. But on that team, he would have like 4 or 5 interceptions a year. Roma Dunze. There's your number 1, guys. Casey, I did it. I found the number 1 receiver that's not named Travis Kelce for you. You're welcome. Arizona, just going to go lineman here. I don't know. I'll rotate this all year long. Jordan Morgan at Arizona. There's a bunch of good ones that kind of fit this mold. It's a good, solid tackle class. A lot of games to see who kind of emerges as the top guy. But I like Jordan Morgan quite a bit as a potential fit in the Shanahan offense. The O-line's been solid, but it is getting up there in age. And when in doubt, draft a lineman. We'll get to some players I did not leave or did not put on this list today. But name a draft prospect that you think I am sleeping on. Any player, who do you think it is? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. What draft prospect do you think I'm sleeping on? Some other ones I wanted to make note of. I can't put him in round 1. I can't do it. Bo Nix has been really good, though, at Oregon. Totally different football player. I love JT Sanders, but tight ends don't typically go that early. Patrick Paul, we've had him in round 1 mock draft before. Braylon Trice in the same bucket. It's a good safety class, by the way. Tyler Newman from Minnesota. Damn good football player. Chris B. Tom, Cowboys, God forbid they lose. Next 3 are sellers. And I think if they lose the next 3, are they sellers? Probably not. Like Jerry's not going to sell. Honestly, even if you lose the next 3, which I think you should be able to win one of those games at minimum, the schedule gets easier. Like you will talk yourself into, we'll be fine. We're going to find ways to make the wild card. Did not give you a good hard pause on that last one, by the way, Chris. So I'm sorry about that. It just might be tight. Maybe add like a little freeze frame in there at the end. Thoughts on Michael Penix, quarterback from Washington? That was a really good deep ball. I do think he benefits a lot from what is a special wide receiver core. Dunze, McMillan, I'm drawing a blank on the third guy's name. Like it's an awesome group. I like him. The medical is going to be a very big factor there. If the medical checks out, it will help. But he's been banged up a lot. Also, he's older. Like he's not the oldest player in this upcoming draft class at quarterback, but he turns 24. Would you rather have the 24-year-old guy, or would you rather take J.J. McCarthy right now is 20 years old, turns 21 in January. Imagine J.J. McCarthy will be in 3 years. That's why you always go with the young guy when in doubt. All right, question before we go. The pin poll today, will Mike McCarthy be fired after this year? 73% are voting yes. I am inclined to agree. I have not seen very many good results so far out of this offense, out of this team, and I think it is a coaching issue. So vote for me, Y for yes, N for no, and make sure to subscribe right now. I promise you, you will not regret it. We will have some awesome trade deadline coverage for you guys. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv.